the I water. Notice the I water, two English words, I and water, but how they came together, the structure belongs to Mama Africa. He went back and he interviewed on the West African coast a number of tribes. And in their own language, that he translated among the Mandingo people, all the Yorubas, the Kendi, all of them, while in their own language and translated, everyone had a concept of I water. Where it come from? Mama Africa. Next slide. Now, Professor John Whitford, now lives in America, Chinese, linguist, now lives in America. He also wrote an academic paper in the same 1976. Maybe somebody can refer to what 1976 really was about. That might be an ancestors for visiting us. But in 1976, he wrote an academic paper, Africanism in Guyanese language. Next slide. I don't think there's anyone in this audience, either here in face or online, maybe with one exception of my friend, who is sitting curiously writing, I don't know her name, to understand, but don't understand. She says she understands what Katai and South mean. Notice, English words, but how they come together belongs to Mama Africa. That is what she said to her children. That is what we remember as we speak. And there's another gesture. Now look at it very carefully. How many of you know this? Do you understand what that means?
Yeah.
We're going to say many days, yes, and it is always said to the person's back. So when Professor Vesnos was speaking about resistance and so on, that was a resistance. Because that gesture, down to the back, right? Or you will answer. You must never deny the importance of African gestures. Now, Professor Whitford took three groups, Black Americans, White Americans, and Africans. And he asked them if they knew what those two phrases had understood, but I chose those two. The Black Americans and the Africans knew. The White Americans were transcribing and translating verbatim. Now you know that's part of stand-up comedy. How you will really translate verbatim taking cut eye? How you will translate it? You will say somebody cut the eye? No. But it just wants to show that those of us who have got it embedded in us, a Creole language, we will understand when we speak to each other. Next slide. Now, the Trayvon Martin case. Trayvon Martin was a young American who was murdered by George Zimmerman. What many of you may not know, and once again, as I said, the linguists have a way of speaking among themselves, but they've done tremendous work, was that George Zimmerman was exonerated for the murder. And the reason was that the main witness was unintelligent. They couldn't understand what she was saying. You know what Professor John Whitford did? He requested the court documents, and he went through all of them and was able to point the finger back at the American justice system and say, this young woman, Rachel Jordan, is intelligent. She was speaking in a Creole language, the African American vernacular English, and she was also speaking Haitian Creole. You know what the prosecutor replied and said? He said, well, maybe if she was speaking a foreign language, we could have gotten a translator. Understand the discrimination against Creole languages. And as I listen to Professor Westmont, I think if we attack, there's no one way to try to resolve the current issues we find ourselves in here, in not just Guyana, the Caribbean, but anywhere where you find Creole people, is one of acceptance, right? We need to belong, and one in which the Creole languages must become official. Notice I'm not saying the Creole language must replace the English language. Now, whenever I say the Creole language must become official, the first thing I hear is a whole set of things that can go wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm saying let us embrace our bilingualism. Let us understand that the Creole language has a structure, it has knowledge, it has all of that. And if we allow those natural Creole speaking people to be themselves, I can guarantee you that by the time Vincent Alexander is ready to run for the president of Guyana, our problems would be significantly less in terms of crime, in terms of literacy. There are so many things that the Creole language, because remember, it's a gift. It came down through the ages. It's there. But instead, what we hear is speak properly. Only God knows what that means. Because even the English language itself has issues. Next slide. Now, this is how we speak. You see that picture where we say he runs speed, right? And that repetition, later call it reduplication. It is a feature of West African languages. So when we speak like that, we are remembering Mama Africa and we are honoring her faith. Now, we also know the versatility and the length of the till tells you how much a person has been vexed. Right? And in 1982, when I was in Nigeria, there was something the Yoruba did. When you visited their home, they would say, how you do? And with the do, there would be a kind of a genuine lecture, but the same prolonging of the last word. I've done a bit of traveling. I have never seen this reproduced in any of the other languages other than the Creole language. Where did it come from? Next slide. Now, Professor Ian Robertson is credited for many things. He was the linguist who documented the last of the Creole languages, which is the Berbice Dutch Creole. You knew what the French Creole, you knew what the English Creole, but the Berbice Dutch Creole was never documented. He found it and he documented it. Next slide. What is important was that in that language, about 30% of the words used were Eastern Egypt, a language spoken in southern Nigeria. Now, Professor Ian Robertson discovered this language in 1975. Ladies and gentlemen, let us need to pause. Pause and understand the importance of language. Coming all the way down. In 1975, there were African words in the Berbice Dutch Creole. the way they spoke, the way they understood each other. It was this. Next slide. Here is Professor Young Robinson with the last surviving speaker. She died in 2015. Her name is Princess Suarez. May God continue to bless her. The language is now considered there. But we have the memory of what they kept alive over all these centuries. Next slide. Now we were all born and raised with this Essequibo Dutch this Essequibo Guyana dispute of our territorial dispute. But what few of us really know is that Professor Young Robinson wrote an academic paper in 1976 in which the title was The Dutch Legacy and the Venezuela Border Dispute. Do you know what he found? He found in his research that when the British went to the arbitration people, the British said that Dutch Creole, or Creole Dutch, they call it Creole Dutch. The order is very important. Creole Dutch is the second most popular language among the indigenous people living in territorial dispute areas. And since they were speaking Dutch, right? That made the place was Dutch. And since them British manners get the area from the Dutch, that means new. Do you see how the British understood the importance of a Creole language? But yet in this 21st century, George Zimmerman got off because we did not, and we do not accept the importance of the Creole language. Next slide. Just to say thanks to the authors that after 400 plus years, we have now moved from the oral tradition to the written tradition, and we can pick up a dictionary and see the words and the phrases that we use, where we came from in Africa, and our interconnectedness with the French Creole and the Spanish Creole and the Portuguese Creole is all in there. Last slide. You know, tomorrow continue to be bright. The real tomorrow that did come may continue to be bright. Last, my sources.
But yeah, sorry about that. I have another conference to go to at 12:30, so I'm running a little bit behind. I will try to make this really fast, and I might send it to you on lunch as well. So this will be quick. My presentation today is on New Amsterdam, Barbados. As some of you know, it's the capital of Barbados, and it's the oldest continuously inhabited town in Guyana. Around 1733, the name New Amsterdam was given to a little village around Fort Nassau, several miles off the Berbice River. And then in 1785, Fort Nassau was abandoned and people moved to Fort St. Andrews, which is the present-day New Amsterdam. It has a population of about 35,000. The town is bounded by, to the north by the Thames River, south by Wood Park, west by the Berbice River, and east by Angeles Avenue. Next slide. Yeah, so I'm really telling you why I'm telling you about New Amsterdam. And it became a municipality in 1891. So why am I doing a presentation in New Amsterdam today? Because it's Guyana's oldest town and second oldest municipality, but there's really a dearth of information on the town, especially its more contemporary history. I was actually born in New Amsterdam Hospital and I lived in the town until I was 16 years old. So it's a place that holds a personal connection for me. In the early to mid 20th century, New Amsterdam and the wider Berbice area was the site of much intellectual and creative production, as we see. But as the century came to a close, New Amsterdam had undergone a shift in sociocultural positioning that saw some types of creative avenues drastically reduced, even as others started to emerge. So in this presentation, I'll give a brief overview of the broader factors that led to this shift, and then delve a bit more into some of the cultural landmarks in New Amsterdam. It was originally supposed to be based just on nighttime establishments, but it proved extremely difficult to find information in these. So I just like to scope a little bit to entertainment in general. And I'm looking at the 1990s to early 2000s in recognition of the fact that the town is rapidly evolving, and therefore highlighting these cultural touchstones, some of which are on their way out. So next slide. New Amsterdam had a 20th century heyday. During the early to mid 20th century, New Amsterdam was either producing or hosting lots and lots of creatives. People like Edward Halser, who is considered to be the first professional novelist to come out of the English-speaking Caribbean, and the writer of many famous works like My Bones and My Fruit. Wilson Harris, famed novelist, Jan Brew, who went to and taught at the Berbice High School. E.R. Brathwaite, who actually worked at an office in New Amsterdam. Michael Duff, who was a playwright and educator and teacher. Carmen Monroe, who was in papers just the other day. She's best known for playing Desmond's wife, Shirley, in the British sitcom Desmond. Valerie Fraser Broadway, considered Guyana's greatest composer of patriotic and national music, was Mary Randial, who was a renowned pianist and organist. And then if you brought in the scope away from cultural things, there's like Shudak Rampal, the Lacus, the Hammons, the Orphans, and even Viola Berner. According to Culture News, so not yet, but according to Culture News, New Amsterdam has been the center of cultural music, and there were many outstanding personalities whose names aren't quite as famous now. There were open-air concerts, choirs, music societies, and musicians performing calypsos and pop music. So what happened? Next slide. By the 1990s, I was becoming a teen and now learning about the town's cultural options. I learned they were almost non-existent. There were definitely no more open-air concerts, and emblematic of the decline was the fact that one of the acclaimed musicians, cited by Culture News, Errol Wong Wani, had actually just been known to me as one of the most infamous madmen around town. So what really happened, it's hard to kind of put it together because there's not much literature and type of analysis on this, but there are some factors that I could locate. These are generally logistics, location, politics, economics, and bureaucracy, and they're all intertwined. So in the 80s, New Amsterdam would have suffered from the migratory wave that enveloped the whole of Guyana as a result of the political and economic climate at the time. LFS Burnham did not pay any particular attention to the city or the county, though he did do some notable infrastructural work such as build the East Berbice Highway, rebuild the Canty Bridge, and establish New Amsterdam Multilateral School. But in general, this inattention was likely due to Berbice's distance from the capital and the need to use a ponderous and unpredictable ferry service to access the town. That the prominent ethnicity of the wider county of Berbice skewed away from Burnham's ethnicity of interest likely also contributed. By the 90s and 2000s, the town continued to be a political football. There were reports that there was marginalization or political interference from the PDPC with meager and untimely annual subventions, interference and oppression of the town council, and there were no rates and taxes increased over the years. This can be explained by the town being traditionally PNC acne-based. As the state of deterioration really continued, another factor I heard is that there are a prohibitive number of permits needed from multiple entities in order to stage cultural events in the towns. All of these challenges didn't prevent Amsterdam from still having and seeking entertainment, and there are some that survived from the 80s and ones I'll be highlighting. So next clip. This is a 1 minute clip. If you just like scroll around, you'll see a play button up here, and it kind of gives you a feel just for the time period that we're talking about. And this is MASH 1991 in Amsterdam. Yeah, there we go. Right here, we can share, but you can see. Alright, that's the end of the clip. So the kind of music back then, the Congo hats, the denim, all the look and feel of the 90s. So the first set, next clip, the first set of things I'd like to talk about is some of the hotels. And interestingly, all the hotels that were back then are still surviving up to now. Next clip. The most famous one is probably Treasury Hotel in Toronto, Cisco. This is on Main and K Streets. It's believed that before it was a hotel, it was actually a hospital known as the Rambarran Hospital. It was bought by the Bookmahans in '74, and then they opened a guest house. It has had numerous extensions and renovations, as you can see in the difference between the pictures from the 90s to the 2000s. It functioned as a hotel, restaurant, bar, and disco. After Mr. Bookmahan passed away, his family took it up, and when the bridge was built, she explained that how that actually decreased tourism to the area. Like nobody was staying overnight in Amsterdam anymore. They had a bridge, so the hotel didn't do as well. But when they have events happening in the town, they do get some visitors. Next slide. Little Rock Hotel is also a very famous one. It was first opened in the 80s. It's located in Bryan Irving. It was opened by Rockwood Christie. It functioned as a disco hotel and event space, and Mr. Christie would actually go on to be very, have multiple ventures. Around the hotel, he also hosted BERBICE's first television station called LRTBS in 1989. He opened a radio station as well afterwards, and now he has a very splashy hotel on Main Street called Little Rock Suites. Next. The Penguin International Hotel and Bar is located in Strand. It started in the 60s, so this was the oldest of the hotels. It was opened by the Le Bonnet family. It was known as the Elite Hotel in Amsterdam. There was a private AC bar in the back, and the elites paid more to be in the private AC section. It was where all the famous weddings in Amsterdam had receptions. It was a place to be on All Year's Night. People used to come to town for entertainment, and Penguin Hotel used to be the place to stay. Since then, it has kind of degenerated into more of a rum shop, but the family is now trying to bring it back to its days. Right? Excuse me. The next one is Astor Hotel. This is from the Guyana National Trust. They say that Astor Hotel on Strand and Charlotte Street was owned by Mr. Jama Prasad, and it was previously a staff house of Dapson and Company Limited. It's a company which made a substantial contribution to the social and economic life of New Amsterdam. And on the ground floor there were offices. As you see, all these hotels have to be multi-use. They couldn't just be hotels, in other words, they won't survive. Next. Talking about the discos, clubs, and bars, to note, many of the Chinese restaurants in the town doubled as bars. But one of the most famous of them was the Dixie Bar. It was owned by Prince Mangal, known as PK. So obviously the bar then became known as PK Bar. Ralph C. Ram wrote that it was a cultural icon in Barbados, known for technical watch guns. Another person characterized it as popular with the mature club and veteran rum drinkers. The Dixie Bar was famous for its pickled eggs and fried shark cutters, which was amongst the first time that these were introduced in Barbados. This is gotten from a Facebook group, and on the picture there were like over 100 comments, which is by far the most engaged anybody had been with a picture in that group. So obviously it's fun to remember, although the building no longer exists and it's just an empty lot. Other popular bars included Secret and Main and Gateway on Main Street, and there were also loads of neighborhood bars. So next. So there were also clubs and discos. Famous names included Castle's Club and Cher's Nightclub, both on Big Street. Cher's, this is the picture from Cher's. It was a late comic when it started in the 90s. It's actually now the site of a church. There's a little bit of interesting history I didn't know, and maybe the older historians in the audience can add if they knew about this. But apparently Pitt Street, which is now known, it's like analogous to Regent Street in Georgetown. Pitt Street is now known for its commercial and businesses. It has suffered fires, multiple fires over decades. But in the 50s and 60s, it was a bit of like a red light district. It was known for its bawdy houses. It had like at least 5 or 6 brothels in the street, and sex workers would be in the windows and the doors, like waving at you, calling at you. By the 90s, 2 of these brothels were still around. The first was Pet Malou, which started as a Chinese cook shop in the middle of the street, but then it relocated to the end of the street and expanded into gambling and drinking and billiards. And the more famous one was what was officially called the Blue Dolphin Bar, but because it was owned by a man called Goldfinger. He was called Goldfinger because he had enough gold in his fingers. Chinese are very explicit people. The hotel was called Goldfinger, and it was frequented a lot by men returning from ships and gold mines. There was a story of Goldfinger fighting with like his second in command, who actually took over his hotel and his wife. The life forgot that owner. And it ended up that Goldfinger suffered a decline in his economic situation, ended up helping people fetch baskets at the New Amsterdam market, and was accused of thieving, went before the magistrate and told the magistrate, you know me as Goldfinger, because the magistrate used to speak with his establishment. And the magistrate said, well, now you're just Finger. Next. Oh, that was for that. Next. So cinemas, Amsterdam actually had several cinemas over the years. By the 90s, there were only 2 still in operation. Someone said how new English movies would come out on Thursday and new Indian ones would come out on a Friday night. So the first one is Gaiety. This was located on Main Street in Theatre Alley. It was owned by Mr. Hoa Young, who was also the owner of the Globe, which was destroyed by a fire. Then the Gaiety was later sold to Mr. Somal Rampersad, and now as you can see, it is this big fancy modern building called the Metro office. Next one, the Strand Cinema was on Strand. It was built in the 60s, it was owned by Mr. Fazal, and you can see the difference in what happens to a building in neglect. Because the picture on the left is from 2012, and the picture, well, on my right, is from 2022, and just within that 10 years, the building has really deteriorated. Both of these cinemas went away in the early 2000s, and they never got replaced. By that time, there were 2 television stations in New Amsterdam. DTV8 started in 1993. There were video stores, later DVD stores, and then the rise of the internet, you had internet cafes and more indoor entertainment. Presently, New Amsterdam has 0 cinemas. So we hope with the resurgence of cinemas in Georgetown that it eventually reaches the town. Next. So seasonal activities. Next slide. Obviously, New Amsterdam celebrated all the national holidays, Padwa, Diwali. There's a famous motorcade on Diwali. Eid, Easter, kite flying was a big thing. But the biggest thing was MASH and Christmas Eve. So you saw the MASH clip already. Christmas Eve, New Amsterdam actually had a Christmas village and a main big line before those things happened in Georgetown. During the day, the town would be a hive of activity, and then at night, everybody would come out and have a street party on Main Street. The stores would stay open until like 8, 9 o'clock. There would be some systems, there would be children taking pictures with Santa Claus and people buying stuff. Actually has become so congested of recent that the churches have complained that they can't hear the midnight mass anymore on Christmas Eve because there's just too much noise on the road. And lastly, so general entertainment options. So of course we had your like school and church fairs, bazaars, talent shows, and pageants. Though they cater to a certain demographic. All Saints Bazaar, which is in the picture there, was pretty consistent with holding an annual bazaar and had innovative inclusions over the year. The New Amsterdam Esplanade, I chose that picture for a reason because it really exemplifies the Esplanade. It's overgrown, contentious. They've tried over the years many things to get it to work, and it just doesn't. I think that's due to the political footballness of the town council and everything happening there. And next slide. Interestingly, one of the most famous entertainment spots for all ages is actually Demico Quick Serve, which was opened on Main Street in 1988 and is extremely popular with all segments. By the 90s, it had become the place for people watching, and they had a play park next door, and then they added a patio at the back, which introduced karaoke and DJs. The picture, this doesn't look the same. They didn't have that covered area at the front, which was open. And so New Amsterdam has changed tremendously from the 90s to now. You might know that the government has some plans to build a huge stadium in Palmyra. When the bridge went through Palmyra, diverted activity from New Amsterdam. That stadium and other plans that they have for Palmyra area are likely to further divert from New Amsterdam's cultural and economic activities. But only in the future we'll see how they'll counteract that, and if the rising tide will indeed raise all ships. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rambarran. I don't know Dr. Rambarran has any time, but what we do now, we take a few questions. And in the interest of Dr. Rambarran, if there are questions for her, we take those first, and then we take questions, comments about Creole.
I have a question for you. It's really interesting to see this kind of array of commercial opportunities. Have you been able to do research about the use of those spaces and how people related to them? And it sounds like the Facebook group might be a kind of method that could be used to collect that kind of memory. Just wondering about where this is going next.
Excellent question. Should I use it?
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. That's an excellent question. I really didn't anticipate it would be this hard to get information when I started this presentation. And then I realized I have to do oral histories, but I didn't have time within the period. So the next step is actually to kind of do an essay or like a cultural journal where we do interview people and get more like in-depth personal experiences and how people related to the changes that happen to the town over that period of time and put it in words and publication.
Any other questions from Dr. Rambarran?
Thank you, Dr. Rambarran, for an excellent presentation. It's more a comment on probably that comment will help a bit of correction. I was very close to Bokohan, so I know a bit about what traces and so on. And my memory is that that building was bought from Justice Claudette McBennett's family. They were the ones who had actually started the hotel there, and the Bokohans subsequently bought it out.
Thank you. Thank you for that information. I'll add it.
Any other question for Dr. Rambarran? If I can make a comment, 2 comments. Dr. Rambarran really has evoked a lot of memory for me personally. But your study has tremendous potential for branching off to an ethnographic study of the development of the Amsterdam, as well as an ethnographic. I think it has tremendous potential for the analysis of the society called, or the community called, Amsterdam. You mentioned the Astor Hotel. That's the hotel I used to like to stay at for one reason. The architecture. When you get into a room in the Astor Hotel, the space between this one where the ceiling would be the roof is the same height as the roof itself. It's really breezy, really enjoying nature in that hotel as opposed to anywhere else probably in Guyana. Any other questions for Dr. Rambarran? If there are no other questions, you're free to leave. Sorry to delay you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
And I will now open up the floor for questions for Dr. Imoff. Any questions for Dr. Imoff or comments? Dr. Imoff, there's something central with your presentation, which has always been at the center of my own thoughts. There are people who contend that there is a universal African spirit, which seems to be related to a metaphysical approach to life. And there are others who may contend that, well, they're more materialistic and therefore there's no universal African spirit. Your presentation, evoked the thought that we do research a universal spirit. You wish to comment on that?
I think my voice can carry, but I was informed by the people online.
For recording purposes.
Yes, that's what I mean. Thank you for the question. Yes, I do believe that there is something called the universal African spirit. Maybe I forgot to put on my disclosure that I'm already only a woman. Now the point is, selling this, but they cannot, they're not just coincidences. If you look at the time that British on subs and so on and so forth, when they began to challenge that linguistic history of between trust and control, it all occurred around the same time. Also, I mean, depending on how you look at life, we're not just body and flesh, all right? And that language that we came with had to be doing something from the centuries. If not, we won't be here to tell the story. As Toni Morrison said, we must remember that we were not meant to survive.
Let me share with you another one of my African lyrics. While studying in Africa, and that was in Tanzania, we would speak Swahili, a Bantu language. There was an African male who would try to make advances for Guyanese female. And after a while, she came in and said to him, Pute, know the following immediately what Pute means in Creolese. Pute. Get away. Pute. It's turning to an alien. And he pute. Surprisingly, he pute. She didn't really want to say to him directly. She wanted to express herself. So she said to him, pute. But he did pute. And later on in the study today, we discovered that the imperative for the verb to be superior in Swahili is puteza. So she's actually speaking to him in the language he understood, though she did not know she was doing that. She's speaking Guyanese, but was speaking very much Creolese, and with a root in African descent. Any other comment or question about the topic?
Remembering when you wanted to be baby to see, when you were parting a baby, or many of us know what to tell the baby, what you tell the baby. Yes, and I was so happy to have found a friend who was usually have books by when I was steal from him, and looking through a book of African words that are still used, and then I discovered that do means in African language is to sleep. So when you tell a baby do, that's what you were saying. Yeah. That's what yeah. So we have a lot of words that we still use.
Yes, and a very quick comment, because as we know, Guyanese Creole also have Creolese has an energy behind it. And believe you me, we can be here till tonight discussing this. I was raised being called Baba, right? I never knew what it meant until we used to cry as African, as Creole, right? And then I knew what Baba meant a lot more. Then I visited Nigeria, early hearing it and so on, before I knew the name of it. So the identity of our captured Africans did come true. They were not beaten and whipped out and murdered and lynched and so on. Some things did remain. And if we understand why, it's the language. Many other things, but the language.
In fact, language will be described as a custodian of one's culture. And culture, in that sense, is not the arts. It is the entirety of one's life. The entirety of society's life, that's culture. And language is a custodian of the culture. Hence, language and identity, as I made the reference earlier. Any other question or comment about the Prof.'s contribution? Dr. Prof, would you like to say a few closing words?
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity. Once again, I think we should try to, each of us, whenever we hear, especially the young people, using the Creole language, let us refrain from telling them to speak properly. Obviously, there's a time and place for everything. But even wherever they may be, just let's develop the habit of listening to what they're saying. Because the self-expression in the Creole language is going to build self-esteem. And the issue being faced here in Guyana and the world at large around descendants of African descent is self-esteem, how you feel about yourself. Now, if you own that language, and that's the language you are listening to, that already is going to allow you to stand up and push out the chest.
Thank you very much. I can attest to that. When the little boy asked me what was my language, and I discovered that Creole was my language, I became a bigger person in that community than I was prior to that moment. In fact, after that moment, we were 15 Guyanese studying every category of the time. And we took a decision that anytime we were speaking in public, we would make sure we speak in Creolese. That brings this session to an end.